Is Senate and House Education Conference Committee, our second meeting for today. So I think where we left off was with regard to House Bill 2596. We had some amendments and we had some questions, and research thought that they could get us some information. Is that correct? So let's hear.
Madam Chair, the question was around the waiting dollars for transportation. There's the 2.5 mile distance that they're supposed to be able to travel. So this isn't adding any students to that travel. Any funding for the travel is, or for transportation is to and from school. So if they are transporting otherwise, it's from existing resources, and they do have some money for CTE and such for transportation in budgets. So we don't think that this will impact. We did talk with the department real quick, and they tentatively agreed as well that there wouldn't be an impact on any of the transportation waiting.
Okay, I appreciate that. I am a little bit interested and would like to hear from the House members, because in the meeting that we just got out of, it indicated that the House has pulled 1.5 million, the 1.5 million appropriation for CTE transportation state aid. So you are still comfortable with regard to the transportation bill, that HB 2596, even though it might include transportation of CTE students. Is that correct? So you understand that your position, you're still comfortable with pulling the 1.5 million and it's not going to impact transportation? Yeah. Okay. Committee on the Senate side, are there additional questions that we have for the revisers or for research? Excuse me, for the revisers or for research with regard to either with House Bill 2596 language? Okay, and so are we in agreement with the balloon that was handed out to us? That would be the balloon that says, obtain and review a driving history research report for each transportation network company driver providing services pursuant to this section, as well as the endorsement on the second page. You're comfortable with that? Okay. So it is the Senate's offer that we take the language from House Bill 2596 as amended, and we place that into Senate Bill 215. And you are agreeable. So we have agreement from both sides on that. So committee, I would now like us to have some discussion, because I know we're limited in time with regard to, we've only got 6 minutes. And because our committee met with the other education committee, we've not had an opportunity to actually meet with the revisers to get actual language to address some of the issues of concern with regard to the CTE bill. So what I'm going to share with you is just going to be conceptual. I think it will take the revisers some time to get this drafted. It is, in our discussion, it is the belief that the information is not available yet with regard to career tech education in K through 12, and that a survey to determine the scope of our USD offerings for the CTE pathway courses that are high school credential only, and the CEP or dual courses that are offered for high school and college credit. Likewise, it is unclear, and the survey we do believe needs to include how many high-value credentialed courses are being offered in our school district, because our goal is the high-value credentials. So we want to make sure that we know how many total are being offered, and of those that are offered in school districts, are there enough being offered in a particular tract that would lead to testing for credentials? So I'll use welding as an example. There's a welding 1 course and a welding 2 course. You have to take both of those before you can test for that high-value credential. So if a district is only offering the welding 1 course, either at the high school or through the community college, it may be one high-value course, but it would never lead to the student while in high school to test for credentialing. We also are concerned about the makeup, which seems very random, but the makeup of the school districts that are involved. And so first of all, there's that need for that survey of all school districts to really just find out where are we with regard to our CTE pathway courses and our CEP or dual credit courses. We would also want to find out from those districts, each district, from a credentialing standpoint, what's the first-time pass rate for the prior 3 years for any type of credentialing? And so that would include the high-value credential as well as the standard career and technical education credentialing. We would also like to know how many credentialing tests school districts, individual school districts have paid for. So are they paying for it? Are students paying for it? Is it that the high-value credentials are what are paid for, or is it the standard that are paid for by districts? So first of all, just find out, are school districts paying for any type of credentialing? And is it for the high-value credential, or is it for the standard career and tech ed? So then, once we could get to that point, then I think we need to be looking at, so when I'm looking at your bill, and I'm looking at, when I'm looking at Section 1B, I think we have to have language such as a school district that offers career technical education, either through the school district or through a community or technical college. I mean, we have to acknowledge that, because again, these are people that absolutely need to be at the table before we do much more than just a quick dip pilot. And I think the pilot here is quite broad, and I think you really want just a quick dip first. You need to get this survey information first for all school districts. Do a quick dip pilot before you broaden, because you want to make sure that the community and technical colleges are at the table before you move to a broader pilot, if you will, before you start throwing what I would call significant money. Then I think we need to focus on truly approved high-value credentialing. And so that hits to line 14 of the bill. Now, when I look at 22, it is my opinion that the school district should be paying for the students to take that credentialing test. But we don't know at this point in time whether districts are doing that or not. We don't even have the rate of what the testing is. So is it a $45 test? Because here's the one thing, as we cross over from K through 12 into college credit, and again, that's why I want to emphasize we really do not want kids just taking courses for high school credit. It is not value added to the student if they're not either getting the CEP or the dual, where they're getting high school and college credit. The only value to a pathway course where they don't earn college credit, but they earn high school, is, okay, I'm going to take this one course to see if I even like it. And they determine, yes, I want to continue, or nope, I do not ever want to be in healthcare, and things like that. But there is little value to a student to earn that CTE credit, but not also earn the college credit. It just does not help them in that next step. And, that originally is what I think this was identified as being the goal, is that transition incentive. You're not going to get that transition incentive if they're not already earning college credit. So I think we want to make sure that we're utilizing SB 155 in every way that we can. Then I think we need to look at also what happens with regard to students and testing. You can be, the way this is written, essentially a student can retest and retest and retest. And I don't think we want the state to be in the position of reimbursing or paying for multiple testing. And that also drives into this point. It does no good, let's say the school district offers welding 1 and welding 2. So if they take welding 1 their fall semester of their junior year, but they don't take welding 2 until the spring semester of their senior year, you have a 1-year gap in between. And so that is not prime for a student once they've finished welding 2 to then test for that credentialing because of that gap. You really want it to be you want it to ladder in the process. So I see that potentially the pilot can lead us to really driving what happens in counseling. And this would be more career counseling. And when I think about the counselors that we have in our school districts and the shortage of counselors we have, most counselors have more than 100 students. And to be able to give them that appropriate career tech counseling, it's very difficult for a counselor that hasn't spent time understanding or working through the laddering for them to be able to guide the students. So I think some of what eventually is going to have to happen before we really start pushing toward this and adding more funding is figuring out what additional tools do school districts need so that they can help students go through the laddering process. Seems to be really successful. If we just look at our data, so we have 981 students that got credentialing last year. 70% of those were CNA. Why is that? Well, because CNA is a very laddered process. You take this, this, and this, and this. And most CNA students, where do they get that instruction? They are driving or being bused or being transported to either a technical center or a community college. That's where they're getting this training. It's not going to be at the high schools. It's going to be elsewhere. So we need to determine, is it that we really, in gathering the data, in surveying our school districts, is it that we need to help them with that relationship with the technical college or a community college? Or is it we need to help them with what they're trying to do just right there at their own high schools? And I think some of these issues are going to be regional, particularly We know that our 19 community colleges aren't evenly scattered throughout the state, so that we can just bus those kids easily. We've got big gaps in there. So how can we help high schools be more effective in helping students with that career tech ed? So I'm going to stop right there, but those are the things that I think have to be addressed. Oh, sorry. I said I was going to stop there, but I'm not. There is one other thing. I do think we have to look specifically at school districts. And I've gone through this list, and it is so random, I cannot figure out what was the criteria. It wasn't alphabetical, it wasn't every fifth school. It's not, we have so many, we've made sure that we have 1A, or 5 1As, 5 2As, 5 3As, 5, et cetera. There's not a pattern to it, but I do think we need to make sure that we break it up in congressional districts, break it up some way, but we need to have representation from the 1 through 6As. And I would prefer that we don't have more than one pilot school per county. And again, I think the pilot needs to be very small. And I think we're going to get better data from a survey just to look at that spreadsheet of the school districts. And when you put that in a spreadsheet form, then you can break it out by, okay, what are the commonalities of all of our 1, 2, 3As? What are the commonalities of 4As? Then you can look at what's the commonalities of school districts that are serviced by community colleges and those that are serviced by technical colleges. And I think it may be even possible to sort it based on the credentialing tracks, as far as that high-value credential list. I think we would be able to look and see what the gaps are there, because that's what we want to do, isn't it? We want to fill gaps. We want to help students. I think we want to be true to what this says, an act concerning education relating to career technical ed, enacting a career technical ed credential and transition incentive for employment success. They're only going to have employment success if they have college credits and credentialing. That's how they're going to have employment success. And also the other thing that I don't see built anywhere in here, and this is where I'm getting to why we do need to have something happen with this bill, is we need to have ACT work keys as a part of this as well. We want all of these kids, we want to make sure that they do take the work keys, because not only will that help them as an incentive for many of our businesses in the construction industry. Crossland is one example. They were one of the first to jump right in. Your starting pay is going to be based on what you received in the work keys exam. You're going to get paid a whole lot more if you are a platinum as opposed to a silver. And so we are funding work keys testing. We want to make sure that all these kids are taking it, because that's what's going to help them in that transition. To me, I think I'm kind of re-envisioning, I think, your goal. I wasn't a part of your hearings, but we have to find the real data of nearly 300 school districts, find those gaps, and move forward if we truly are wanting to help move these kids forward.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I can tell you that some of the questions you asked, I believe, can be answered. We have Stacy Smith here, who works in this area, and he could probably, time-wise, not so much maybe talking to this committee, but could work with our advisors and yeah. Also, Stacy was involved with the methodology as far as selecting the school districts, and he could probably provide you information on that, and he is here. But even if time-wise, I know he could probably email that information But I am agreeable even in working at looking at that list and making tweaks to it. And I also will add too, as regards to the cost, that first shall be expended on the cost of the assessment, and that is in the bill already on page 2, on line 34, 34 and 35. And so that was something that was discussed at committee also. But time-wise, I don't know if we have time maybe for Stacy just to share a little bit with the committee, and then he could work with the revisers, as far as language that would address the issues that you raised. Especially, I really agree about the work keys. So,
And Stacy, I can meet with you at some point in time. We have to leave this room. I was supposed to be in taxation.
we don't have to, but if you have another meeting, we found out that the room.
Taxation is meeting.
Okay.
It started at 1, so I guess we're working to push things out.
Okay.
So committee, are you able to stay, or are you wanting to readdress this once we get information from Stacy? Okay. So if Stacy can get some information, do you have something that you can send? Okay. Wonderful, thank you.
And then I think he could get with the revisers to address a lot of the issues, and there's probably already some information that you were requesting that could be maybe even put into the bill, but as far as even how it would be implemented, that's his job, and he can help to, what's necessary as far as language that would be put into the bill, as far as gathering information could be addressed also, and we're agreeable to that too.
Okay, so
right.
we have agreement on the other bill, so we now have passed out 2 bills. So we are adjourned for now. Thank you.